What's up, guys? Good evening and welcome to Roma Theory. It is the calm before the storm. In 24 hours, we will know the result of the derby, which is crazy. But I mean, it's not crazy. It's just a little thought. The calm before the storm. It's always the day before the derby is always a very silent day. It is. In WhatsApp chats, I normally chill in the day before the derby. I normally take very chilled. I normally go to the bathroom several times. I'm probably at count number 3 on that one. Yeah, it's a very chilled one. It's a very calm one because everything needs to go on the following day, and that's where the energy needs to kick off. And tomorrow it will surely kick off, regardless of the result, regardless of how the game will develop. Tomorrow is going to kick off, and I'm ready, guys. I'm ready. Are you guys ready? Let me know in the live chat if you guys are ready or not. This is Gasperini's press conference reaction. I think this is an important one because I think one of the most doubtful concepts of this derby is the fact that it's Gasperini's first one. So understanding how he prepared this one, how he is emotionally living this game himself is interesting, with, of course, news on injury players who are going to miss this game, and there are a few that are going to miss this game. Last one being Wesley, who didn't officially train today, so he didn't get a call up and will miss tomorrow. Unlike Hermoso, who also was in doubt but did get a call up for tomorrow's game. Look, I think that's the starting point of this press conference reaction. And in fact, it was the first question. How is he living this? How is he living the anticipation to this game? How will he live this game, and how will he emotionally prepare this game? Because one thing is tactically preparing the derby, and another thing is emotionally preparing the derby. And those two things are very different to each other. And he said that, of course, this is he's very excited because this is his first game in a very heated game, one of the most fierce, heated, passionate games in Europe. So on one side, he's excited. On one side, he knows the responsibility of this game, which comes in, in accepting this job. You have these games. Of course, going from a team like Atalanta to a team like Roma also means that there is a passionate jump. And in this case, that there's a derby to be played, something that Atalanta doesn't have. And a game that he perfectly knows that if you win, you're in heaven. If you lose, you're in hell. And if you lose, he knows that the focus of the following weeks will be the defeat. So, there is responsibility behind this game. There's responsibility behind the choices that the manager pulls in this game. And I think, I think it's, again, I don't want to put a lot of pressure on him. There is no need to put pressure on him. I think, yes, it's very good to live the anticipation of these games with a lot of adrenaline, because it's what these games mean. It's nice to live these games also like this, but I think adrenaline shouldn't be mixed with pressure. Pressure, of course, will be there, but too much pressure will make you collapse. And you need to understand the limit of where the adrenaline will get to. And I think, that's an important concept for sure that he spoke about in this press conference. He spoke about Lazio, he spoke about Sarri and how the two know each other very well. They've been managing, he basically mentioned how both Sarri and Gasperini are two managers which came from nowhere, came from the youth sectors of Serie C to then progress their way, and tomorrow we'll be playing a Rome derby, where they will divide the pitch together and share the pitch together. So they know each other very well. I think this further explains, of course, it's a different game, so it's very hard to give little tips and everything, but the fact that they've played so many games against each other and the fact that they know each other so well, I personally think that it further proves the fact that tomorrow's game will initially be very not calm, but it will be a waiting game, because Sarri knows what Gasperini does, and Gasperini knows what Sarri does. And in a game where the managers have played so many games together, tactically, two managers which know each other very well, added to the fact that it is a derby and of course it's going to be an initial waiting game, I expect a low scoring game tomorrow. I really do. I expect a game, as always, that will be decided by a moment. That will be, and this is something that he touched on today, because somebody, I think it, maybe, I'm not sure if it was a Sky Sports journalist, but somebody asked him, how do you win these games? You know, you've played the Derby della Lanterna in Genoa, which is very heated like this one. So, and you've won a lot of them. So what is the key factor that makes you win these games? And he said it's basically using the moments and exploiting the little chances in the best way possible. And I fully agree on him. You know, this game is a game, like every derby, that will be decided by a moment, by an error, by a mistake, by a set piece, by a penalty, by a shot, by a winning move from Sule or a winning move from Zaccagni. It's a very tight game, and tight games end up being like this. You know, it is a look at the previous derbies. You know, last in April, it was a Sule magic touch which made us draw that game. If Sule doesn't invent that, we wouldn't have equalized that game. How did Lazio score in that game? It was a set piece, right? Yes. Previously, you know, remember the derby that Mancini scored? One header decided the game. You know, this isn't a game where you will reflect every single tactical element that you know and want to prove onto the pitch. No, it's not. It's not a game where you will have a lot of chances. It's who exploits the few chances they have the best, because it is going to be a very slow paced waiting game at first, because nobody wants to lose it for sure. So that's the other thing he mentioned. And then he moved on to players. Of course, he spoke about the players that aren't available. Wesley won't be available. Hermoso did get a call up, but I'm not sure if he's going to start. And then he spoke about Pellegrini. And basically, of course, somebody mentioned how in January, in Ranieri's first derby back with us, in that derby that Pellegrini scored in and won us the game, Ranieri in the press conference before the derby said that Pellegrini was going to play because he saw a light in Pellegrini's eyes, demanding him a chance against Lazio. And Gasperini got asked, did you see this light in Pellegrini's eyes? We all know what this game means to him. We all know how in the past he's changed these games. So do we have a possibility of starting Pellegrini? He didn't give a definitive answer, but I think he left. What is this dog doing? Are they killing this dog? I hate dogs which keep on barking and just don't stop barking. Fucking hell. Like, are they beating the dog up? Thank God it stopped. Yeah, going back to Pellegrini, it's, don't write him off. I said this yesterday, don't write him off. Because I think, especially now that nobody really expects anything from him, right? Because, especially Lazio, you know, Lazio probably don't even know that Pellegrini is available, because they've got this image of Pellegrini being declassed at Roma, being not playing anymore. So I think maybe starting with Pellegrini or even using him as a winning weapon, you can catch them off surprise. You know, they wouldn't expect after years and after months and months from his last goal, Pellegrini to come in and decide the game. So it's also a matter of catching them out of nowhere, out of surprise. I don't know. I just feel like these are the games that he turns up in. These are the games that he feels the most, and he converts that feeling into good performances. He has played a lot of poor performances in the past, and in these last couple of months, but in derbies he usually plays well. And I think I would risk it. Of course, I do it. I would do it. I would do it. I would start Pellegrini, but he didn't give a definitive answer. He doesn't even know if Pellegrini will have the full. Well, of course, he won't have the full 90 minutes. But either start him or use him as a killer sub. I think could be a good move, for sure. And then the last thing which I will focus on, and then we'll have a little pre-derby chat. Reading a few comments. Pop the comments in the live chat. We're going to read them all in the end. If you've got questions regarding the game tomorrow, I'm just going to say one last thing and then we'll move on to comments. One thing that I don't like, that Gasperini doesn't like, because Gasperini knows this and knew that this was going to be a dagger coming at Roma. I get the feeling that too many people have already given up. Even when listening to this press conference, there was this sense of defeatism in the air. And Gasperini pointed to this and said, we've only lost a game. People are forgetting that we won the first two games, and people are now all of a sudden sticking on the fact that we've lost the game against Torino and still haven't absorbed that and are moving into this game with that defeat in their minds. And this is something that, for example, is one of the biggest differences from going to Atalanta to Roma. Because at Atalanta, you lose a game, okay, you lose following day, you start focusing on the other game. At Roma, it's not like this. And I think this thing is one of the issues as to why we haven't won much lately. I really think it is, because I think we over-dramatize defeats. Now, of course, there's a lot of types of over-dramatizing. Because last season, when we were 17th and we were losing games constantly, it's fair to dramatize the situation because the situation was dramatic. So if you're 17th and you can't win a game and the players can't seem to respond to you, you start panicking, and it's fair to start panicking. But losing one game against Torino, which you didn't deserve to lose, but you also didn't deserve to win. I think that game at 10 0-0. Because you lost that game basically because Simeone took a shot and scored a goal. And all of a sudden now I'm hearing people giving up already. I'm hearing people pulling this defeatism in the air and dragging it into this game. One thing that Gasperini said in today's press conference is this: we need to learn, and this is to we, because I do it as well, but it's something that this fan base needs to learn, is just as you archive wins, you have to archive defeats. Because what we do is that we win a game, we're very excited for the following 24 hours, and then everyone forgets about that win. We lose a game, everyone is mad the following 24 hours, and we prolong that madness into further days and weeks, and we don't archive defeats like we would archive wins. And that's something that Gasperini said today. We're going to lose more games. If we're not able to archive defeats and forget defeats by grasping what we got wrong and learning from them, but then you have to scrap them away. You can't all of a sudden, day after day, relook at that defeat and re-dramatize the situation. We lost the game. Yes. Did we play poorly? Yes. Does the manager acknowledge this? Yes. Does the manager acknowledge that he made mistakes in that game? Yes. Now we move on. We can't change the result of that game. Now we move on. We've got a derby tomorrow. So that's something that is worth noticing and worth pointing out. Because it's something that this manager doesn't like, because this manager isn't used to this to this media constant pressure after you lose a game, because everyone expects you to win every game, and that's wrong. And that's very wrong. So the fact that we've played a bad game against Torino and lost, everyone now gets the feeling that we're already given up, and everything. And that's something that we need to learn to stop doing, because that was probably one of the biggest ingredients to that Atalanta success, which isn't possible at Roma. I've said this already. One thing that he won't have is the support of the media. Here he will have the media against him. But sometimes it's fair to let go of some defeats. Other defeats, of course, will stick in your throat and you'll be mad and salty for longer, which is normal. But defeats like the last one, or defeats that happen over the course of a project, and I would actually argue that they are educational defeats that maybe sometimes it's better for them to happen so that you get a reality bite than win every single game and get to the crucial stages of the season with a lot of confidence, because sometimes being overconfident can be a mistake. That's pretty much it, guys. I'm going to read a few comments. Thoughts on Gasperini's swapping formations and strategy, consistency versus inconsistency on Gasp's coaching strategy has me concerned. Since when Sule a striker? Sule won't play as a striker. Sule will play next to Ferguson tomorrow. Your question was thoughts on Gasperini swapping formations. That's something that I think he tried to do against Torino. Now that he's done it and lost that game, I think he's not going to do it again, especially in these games. Ciao Luca, I think Pellegrini will definitely play the way Gasper mentions him as the second most technical player in the league. In my opinion, if Pellegrini starts, he could get man of the match because he has that technical player that can replace Dybala. Like Mourinho said, you had chances, you will get more chances, and you have to kill when we have chances. Start Pellegrini and bring Elsha off the bench. What happened to Bailey? Bailey will be back in a bit. I think he's going to miss this in Nice and then hopefully be back next weekend. But we need Bailey so much. We really, really do. If Hermoso doesn't play, Gasperini should drop Cristante into a more defensive lying 6 and put an additional midfielder in 3-5-2. I think these are not the games you do these changes though. Because, as we said before, any single detail can cost you this game. And to be honest with you, it's not the game to experiment in. It's not the game to switch the positions of players, putting Cristante in defense, playing with a false 9. It's not the game to do these things. You do these things against Verona, and maybe not even against teams like Torino, because we saw what happened last weekend. If you want to experiment, you experiment in games that might not, like for example, you win the first 6 games of the Europa League, the remaining 2 are useless games. That's where you experiment. Or in games against clearly weaker sides, even if you experiment. These are not the games to experiment. Will Wesley start? No, Wesley did not get a call up. He has, I think, a stomach issue, but he didn't train in these last 2 days, didn't train today, and he didn't get a call up, so he will not be available tomorrow, and I think Wrench will need to warm his legs. Guys, I think that can end it. We've got a massive game tomorrow. I don't even need to describe the game to you guys, of course. I was there this morning to film a few clips for TikTok, Instagram, and for the vlog tomorrow. I was at the stadium, around the stadium, and there's always a tight air the day before Derby around the stadium. And you could hear that there was somebody inside the stadium. I think it was the 2 ultras preparing the tifos. But bring it on. Lazio merda. Always and forever. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We've got an early day tomorrow, guys. Who's gonna sleep tonight? I don't know. Take it chilled because tomorrow you need to wake up early if you're going, and we have to start very early with the beers. So hit the like, subscribe, let me know your thoughts as always, and man, Forza Roma, big game. I'll catch you tomorrow. Simo out. Forza!